The letter arrived on a Tuesday, landing like a grenade in my perfectly ordered life. I almost missed it, buried between bills and junk mail, but my grandmother's lawyer's firm name caught my eye. My hands trembled as I tore open the envelope, standing in my kitchen where I'd shared countless cups of tea with Gran before she passed. My name is Laurel, and until that moment, I thought I'd process my grandmother's death as well as any doctor could. Being an oncologist, I'm familiar with loss. But nothing prepared me for what that letter contained. Dear Dr. Whitaker, it began formally. In accordance with your grandmother's final wishes, we are to deliver the enclosed key and instructions to you exactly 6 months after her passing. A small brass key fell into my palm as I unfolded the letter. My throat tightened. I recognized it immediately. It belonged to Gran's antique writing desk, the one piece of furniture she never let anyone touch. The contents of the locked drawer, the letter continued, include your grandmother's personal diary and several documents she believed you should see. She was explicit that these materials be reviewed by you alone. My phone buzzed. Mother's name flashed across the screen. Marjorie Whitaker. 20 years of minimal contact, and suddenly she was calling daily since Gran's death. I let it go to voicemail, just like I had every other time. Laurel, honey. Her message played later as I poured a generous glass of wine. Clyde and I were thinking about visiting next weekend. There are some things we need to discuss about your grandmother's estate. I deleted the message before it finished. Classic Marjorie, absent for most of my life until money entered the equation. The same woman who left me with Gran when I was 12, running off with Clyde Harrington to start a new family, one without the burden of a preteen daughter. The key felt heavy in my pocket as I drove to Gran's house, my house now, though I hadn't changed a thing since the funeral. The porch light still burned, just as she'd always kept it. For strays, she used to say, both the four-legged and two-legged kind. Inside, everything remained exactly as she'd left it. The writing desk stood in its corner of the study, dark mahogany gleaming in the afternoon light. I approached it slowly, running my fingers along its smooth surface, remembering how Gran would shoo me away whenever she caught me trying to peek inside. The key slid in perfectly. The drawer opened with a soft click. Inside lay a leather-bound journal, its pages yellow with age, and beneath it, a stack of letters bound with faded ribbon. My hands shook as I lifted out the journal, Gran's familiar handwriting flowing across its pages. The first entry was dated 20 years ago, the day after my mother left. My dearest Laurel, it began, if you're reading this, I'm no longer here to protect you from the truth. There are things you need to know about your mother's departure, things I've kept hidden to spare you pain. But you're stronger now, and it's time you understood the real reason Marjorie left that day. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was my half-sister Ruby's name on the screen. Sweet, innocent Ruby, who'd tried so hard over the years to bridge the gap between our broken family halves. I hesitated, then declined the call. Whatever secrets this journal held, whatever truths Gran had kept hidden, they could change everything. The carefully constructed walls I'd built around my heart, the professional distance I'd maintained from my mother's new family, all of it might crumble once I turned these pages. I poured another glass of wine and settled into Gran's favorite reading chair. Outside, storm clouds gathered, casting the study in shadows. Perfect weather for unearthing family secrets. Taking a deep breath, I began to read. Gran's diary entry from that night hit me like a punch to the gut. I had to set it down, my hands trembling as I paced the study. The storm outside had picked up, rain pelting against the windows like accusations. Your mother came to me that morning, Gran had written, desperate and afraid. She said Clyde had given her an ultimatum, leave with him that day, or he'd ensure she never saw a penny of his family's money again.
But there was more to it than that.
Something darker that made her hands shake as she spoke. The entry ended there, the next page torn out. Classic Gran, leaving breadcrumbs instead of answers. I was about to close the diary when something slipped from between its pages, a photograph I'd never seen before. My mother, much younger, holding me as a baby. But it was her expression that caught me off guard. She was looking at me with such raw love it made my chest ache. The doorbell rang, startling me so badly I dropped the photo. Through the rain-streaked window, I caught a glimpse of Ruby's red umbrella. "I know you're in there," she called out, her voice muffled by the storm. "Your car's outside, Laurel. Please, we need to talk." I considered pretending I wasn't home, but Ruby had inherited Gran's persistence. She'd camp out all night if she had to. "You look terrible," she said when I opened the door. She brushed past me, shaking water from her coat. "Have you been crying?" "I don't cry," I said automatically, but my reflection in the hallway mirror betrayed me. "What are you doing here, Ruby?" "Dad's planning something." She twisted her hands together, a nervous habit she'd had since childhood. "He's been making calls, meeting with lawyers. I overheard him tell Mom that he's found a way to contest Gran's will." The diary suddenly felt like it was burning a hole through the desk drawer.
He can't.
"The will is ironclad. There's something else." Ruby lowered her voice, glancing around as if Clyde might materialize from the shadows. "He's got papers, old ones, from before Mom married him." I couldn't see what they were, but a crash from upstairs cut her off. We both froze, staring at the ceiling. "I thought you said you were here alone," Ruby whispered. I was already moving toward the stairs, grabbing Gran's old tennis racket from the umbrella stand, the closest thing to a weapon within reach. Ruby followed close behind, her phone's flashlight beam bouncing off the walls. The noise had come from Gran's bedroom. The door stood slightly ajar, though I distinctly remembered closing it earlier. Inside, the window was open, curtains billowing in the wind, rain soaking into the carpet. And there, silhouetted against the lightning, was a figure hunched over Gran's dresser, rifling through the drawers. "Stop right there," I commanded, wielding the tennis racket like a sword. The figure straightened slowly, turning to face us. In the next flash of lightning, I recognized the sharp features and perfectly styled hair, even after all these years. "Hello, Laurel," said Aunt Opal, clutching a stack of papers to her chest. "I was hoping to avoid this particular family reunion. What are you doing here?" My voice shook with anger. "How did you get in?" "Your grandmother gave me a key years ago." Opal's smile was razor-thin. She knew someone would need to clean up after she was gone. "Some things are better left buried, dear. For everyone's sake." Behind me, Ruby gasped. "Those are the same kind of papers Dad has." Opal's expression flickered. "So Clyde found his copy. I should have known he wouldn't let this go." She straightened her spine, every inch the proper lady she'd always pretended to be. "We need to talk, Laurel, about what really happened the day your mother left." Lightning flashed again, illuminating the papers in Opal's hands. In that brief moment, I caught a glimpse of what looked like a contract, my mother's signature bold at the bottom. The truth, it seemed, was about to get a lot more complicated. The contract in Aunt Opal's hands was dated exactly 1 week before my mother left. I stared at it through burning eyes as we sat in Gran's kitchen, the storm still raging outside. Ruby had made coffee none of us were drinking. "It's a custody agreement," Opal said, sliding the papers across the table. "Your mother signed away her parental rights. Not because of Clyde's ultimatum, but because of something else entirely." My hands wouldn't stop shaking as I read. Legal jargon filled the pages, but one paragraph stood out. "In exchange for maintaining silence regarding the events of March 15, 1999, Marjorie Whittaker agrees to." "What happened on March 15th? I demanded. Opal's face tightened. "That's not my story to tell." "But your mother didn't abandon you for money, Laurel. She left to protect you." Ruby leaned forward, her coffee forgotten. "Protect her from what?" Before Opal could answer, my phone buzzed. Marjorie's name flashed on the screen again, but this time, there was a text. "Clyde knows about the contract. He's coming for the house. Don't let him in." As if on cue, headlights swept across the kitchen windows. A car door slammed. "He followed me," Ruby whispered, face pale. "I'm so sorry. I should have been more careful." Opal moved faster than I'd ever seen her move, gathering the papers. "Get these somewhere safe.
Now."
Heavy footsteps on the porch. Then pounding on the door. "Laurel." Clyde's voice boomed through the house. Open up. We need to discuss your grandmother's estate. I shoved the contract into Gran's recipe box and thrust it at Ruby. Back door. Go to my apartment. Don't stop for anything. Ruby hesitated only a moment before slipping out through the kitchen. The pounding continued. I know you're in there. Your aunt's car is outside. A pause. Don't make me call the police, Laurel. I have documentation proving your grandmother wasn't of sound mind when she changed her will. Opal's laugh was bitter. Documentation he fabricated, no doubt. She straightened her spine. Let him in. It's time we ended this charade. Are you insane? I hissed, but I was already moving toward the door. 20 years of questions were about to be answered, one way or another. Clyde burst in the moment I turned the lock, rain dripping from his expensive coat. He'd aged since I'd last seen him, but his eyes were still cold and calculating. Where is it? He demanded, scanning the room. Hello to you too, stepfather, I said, ice in my voice. Please come in. Make yourself at home. Don't play games with me, girl. That contract could ruin everything I've built. The contract you used to blackmail my mother? The words felt like poison in my mouth. Or is there another one I should know about? Clyde's face darkened. Your mother made her choice. She knew what would happen if she ever told you the truth about that night. What truth? My voice cracked. What was so terrible that she had to leave her own daughter? The truth, a new voice said from the doorway, about what your father really did to me. We all turned. There stood my mother, soaked from the rain, looking smaller than I remembered. But her eyes were steel as she faced Clyde. You promised, he growled. You signed. I promised to stay quiet to protect my daughter, Marjorie said. But she's not a child anymore. And I'm done letting you use my past against me. She turned to me, tears mixing with raindrops on her face. Your father didn't die in an accident, Laurel. He was murdered. And Clyde. She took a shuddering breath. Clyde helped cover it up. The kitchen clock ticked loudly in the silence that followed. Outside, lightning flashed, illuminating all our faces in stark white. The guilty, the innocent, and those of us somewhere in between. I looked at my mother, really looked at her, and saw for the first time the weight she'd been carrying all these years. The choice she'd made wasn't about money at all. It had been about survival. Police lights flashed silently outside Gran's house as Detective Morris took our statements. It was nearly midnight, and the truth about my father's death hung in the air like smoke. Clyde had disappeared into the back of a patrol car an hour ago, leaving chaos in his wake. Let me get this straight, Morris said, reviewing his notes. Your father's car accident in '99 wasn't an accident at all? My mother sat across from me, hands wrapped around a cold cup of tea. She hadn't stopped shaking. Frank was going to expose Clyde's embezzlement scheme. The brake lines in his car weren't cut by accident. I stood up abruptly, needing to move. 20 years of believing my father had died because of black ice on a dark road, and now this. Why didn't you tell someone? Why didn't you go to the police back then? Because of these. Aunt Opal spread out more papers on the table, photographs this time. They showed my father's car, but there was something else. Something that made my stomach turn. Clyde made it look like your father had been drinking. He planted evidence. Made sure your mother knew that if she talked, everyone would believe Frank died driving drunk with his 12-year-old daughter in the car. The room spun slightly. I'd been in the car that night. I remembered Dad dropping me at a friend's house just hours before the crash. He threatened to destroy Frank's reputation, my mother whispered. To make you grow up believing your father was responsible for his own death. I couldn't let that happen. Detective Morris's pen scratched across his notepad. And MS. Whitaker, Evelyn, she knew about this. Gran knew everything, I said, the pieces finally clicking into place. That's why she left me the diary. She was making sure the truth would come out after she was gone. A soft knock at the door made us all jump. Ruby stood there, still clutching Gran's recipe box with the contract inside. Dad's lawyer is here, she said quietly. He's saying there's no proof. That it's all hearsay after 20 years. The detective's face remained carefully neutral. Physical evidence from that long ago will be difficult to recover. Without a confession, There's more. My mother's voice had changed, stronger now. She reached into her purse and pulled out a USB drive. I've been collecting evidence for years. Bank records, emails, conversations I recorded. I knew someday Clyde would slip up, get too confident. When he started pushing about Evelyn's estate, I knew it was time. Morris took the drive like it might explode. You've been building a case against your own husband? I've been waiting for a chance to protect my daughter. Both my daughters. She looked at Ruby, then at me. I should have done it sooner. I'm so sorry, Laurel. I thought I was protecting you, but I was just protecting myself from having to face what I'd done. Ruby moved to sit beside our mother, taking her hand. The gesture was so simple, so forgiving, it made my throat tight. There's something else you should see, Opal said, pulling one final envelope from her bag. Evelyn wrote this the day before she died. She made me promise to keep it until we had proof about Frank's death. The letter inside was in Gran's familiar handwriting, but shakier than I remembered. As I read, my hands began to tremble. My dearest Laurel, it began, by now you know the truth about your father. What you don't know is that he left something for you. Something Clyde has been searching for all these years. I looked up at my mother, whose eyes had gone wide with recognition. The evidence, she breathed, the original evidence of Clyde's embezzlement. Frank hid it somewhere in this house before he died. That's the real reason Clyde wanted the estate. He's still looking for it. Detective Morris was already reaching for his radio. We need to get a forensics team in here.
Now.
Outside, more police cars were arriving, but I barely noticed. I was already moving toward Gran's study, my mind racing. If Dad had hidden something in this house 20 years ago, there was only one place he would have put it. The same place I used to hide my own secrets as a child, behind the loose brick in the study fireplace. The loose brick slid out easily, as if it had been waiting all these years for my touch. Inside was a dusty manila envelope, sealed with my father's familiar scrawl across the front. For my Laurel, when the time is right. Did you find something? Detective Morris called from the doorway. Before I could answer, Ruby's scream pierced the air. He's out. Dad's out on bail. My mother appeared behind Morris, face ashen. That's impossible. The evidence. His family's lawyers moved fast, Morris said grimly. We need to get that envelope into evidence now. I clutched the package to my chest, my father's last message to me. I need 5 minutes with this first. Laurel. My mother stepped forward. We don't have time. 5 minutes, I repeated, my voice sharp enough to make her flinch. You've had 20 years to process this. I need 5 minutes. I locked myself in Gran's bathroom, hands shaking as I opened the envelope. Inside were bank statements, photographs, and a letter. But what caught my eye was a small key card with a bank logo and safety deposit box number. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Hello, Laurel. Clyde's voice was eerily calm. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Nothing here belongs to you. No? Ask your mother about December 12th, 1998. Ask her what really happened to those missing funds before your father started investigating me. The bathroom door rattled. Laurel?
It was Ruby.
Dad's car just pulled up outside. I stared at the documents in my hands. December 12th, 1998. There it was, a transfer record with my mother's signature. She was in on it, I whispered. At the beginning. Smart girl, Clyde said. Your mother helped me set up those accounts. She only turned on me when your father found out. She's not the victim she pretends to be. The front door slammed downstairs. Heavy footsteps. I'm coming up, Clyde called out. Let's handle this like family. I cracked open the bathroom door. Ruby stood there, tears streaming down her face. Mom's gone. She just ran out the back door. Of course, she had. Running was what she did best. Get these to Morris. I shoved the envelope at Ruby. Go out the window, down the trellis like we used to. Don't stop for anything. What about you? I pulled Gran's diary from my pocket. I need answers first. Laurel? Clyde's voice was closer now. Let's talk about a deal. Ruby squeezed my hand before disappearing through the window. I walked out to face my stepfather, Gran's diary held tight against my chest. He stood at the top of the stairs, still in his expensive suit despite the late hour. Where are the documents?
Gone.
Like your leverage over my mother. His smile didn't reach his eyes. You really think she's worth protecting? After everything she's done? I'm not protecting her. The diary's spine crackled under my grip. I'm finishing what my father started. Your father was a fool who didn't understand business. My father, I said quietly, taught me where to hide things. Want to know what else he taught me? Clyde took a step forward. Don't play games. He taught me that the truth always comes out. December 12th, 1998. I know Mom helped you. But I also know from Gran's diary that she tried to stop you once she realized what you were really doing. That's why you needed her gone, why you threatened her with my father's reputation. His face darkened. You have no proof. I have Gran's diary. I have Ruby's testimony about your threats. And I have. I pulled out my phone, showing him the recording icon. Your confession from downstairs earlier. The police may have let you go, but they're going to love hearing this. Clyde lunged forward just as Detective Morris appeared behind him, gun drawn. That's enough, Morris said. Hands where I can see them. As they led Clyde away again, I saw my mother standing in the garden, watching through tears. She took a step toward the house, but I turned away. Some betrayals cut too deep for second chances. Or so I thought. 3 days after Clyde's arrest, I found myself sitting in the safety deposit box vault, staring at the contents of box 2317. My father's final evidence lay scattered before me. Photos, ledgers, and a videotape labeled insurance. But it was the handwritten confession that made my hands shake. My mother's confession, dated the day before my father died. The bank manager cleared his throat. Dr. Whitaker, your sister's here. Ruby looked exhausted as she slid into the chair beside me. Mom's asking for you. She's not doing well. She's doing exactly what she's always done, I said, spreading out the confession. Running, hiding, lying. She tried to make it right. Ruby's voice cracked. That confession proves it. She was going to turn herself in, turn Dad in too. And Dad died before she could. The words tasted bitter. How convenient. The police found something else. Ruby pulled out her phone, showing me a video. Security footage from the bank, dated December 12th, 1998. My mother, younger and terrified, standing at a teller window while Clyde loomed behind her. His hand gripping her arm, hidden from the teller's view. She was his victim too, Ruby whispered. I shoved back from the table. Don't make excuses for her. She had choices. Like what? Let him kill Dad sooner? Let him come after you. Ruby's voice rose. You read Gran's diary. You know what Clyde was capable of. The diary. I'd been avoiding its final pages, afraid of what else I might learn. Afraid Gran's last words might force me to forgive when all I wanted was justice. My phone buzzed. Detective Morris. Clyde made bail again. Higher-ups intervening. Watch your back. Ruby read the message over my shoulder. He'll come for the evidence. For all of us. Let him try. I gathered the documents, but Ruby grabbed my wrist. You sound just like Dad did.
Her words hit like a slap.
All righteous anger and no self-preservation. Look where that got him. What do you expect me to do? Forgive and forget. I expect you to survive. Ruby's eyes filled with tears. Mom's in the hospital because she finally stood up to him. She took pills, Laurel. They're saying she might not make it. The world tilted sideways. What? She left a note. For you. Ruby pulled out an envelope, hospital letterhead visible through the thin paper. She said if anything happened to her, you'd find the rest of Dad's evidence in her old music box. The one she left behind when she abandoned me. I stared at the envelope, remembering that music box. The one that played Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata. The one I'd smashed against the wall the day after she left. Oh God. The realization hit like ice water. The pieces. I threw them away. What pieces? The music box. I destroyed it. My legs gave out, and I sank into the chair. if there was evidence inside. Ruby's phone rang. Her face went pale as she listened. We have to go.
Now.
Dad's been to the house. He's torn it apart looking for something, and now he's heading to the hospital. To Mom. I looked down at the confession in my hands. 20 years of anger and betrayal warred with the image of my mother, young and frightened, Clyde's hand leaving bruises on her arm. If we lose her, Ruby's voice broke. If he gets to her before she wakes up, we'll never know the whole truth. The truth. I'd been so focused on exposing it, on finally understanding why my family had shattered, that I hadn't considered the cost. Now my mother was dying, Clyde was free, and the final pieces of evidence might be sitting in a landfill somewhere, destroyed by my own teenage rage. Sometimes revenge doesn't taste like justice at all. Sometimes it tastes like ashes and regret. Let's go, I said, pocketing the confession. It's time to end this. One way or another. The hospital corridor stretched before me like a gauntlet. Ruby had gone to get security, leaving me alone outside my mother's room. Through the window, I could see her still form, tubes and wires making her look smaller than I remembered. Movement at the end of the hall caught my eye.
Clyde.
I slipped into the room, quietly closing the door. My mother's heart monitor beeped steadily as I pulled Gran's diary from my bag, finally opening to those last pages I'd been avoiding. I knew you'd come. I spun around. My mother's eyes were open, clear despite the medication. Save your strength, I said, moving toward the call button. She caught my wrist. The music box. Did you find it? I destroyed it. 20 years ago. A faint smile touched her lips.
No.
You didn't. Her voice was barely a whisper. Your grandmother? She saved the pieces. Built a false bottom. In her jewelry box. The door opened. Clyde stood there, his expensive suit incongruous against the sterile hospital walls. Family reunion? His smile didn't reach his eyes. How touching. It's over, Clyde. I positioned myself between him and the bed. We have everything. The confession, the bank footage, Dad's evidence. You have pieces of a puzzle you don't understand. He closed the door behind him. Your father was going to destroy everything I'd built. Your mother helped me stop him. She was trying to protect me, I said, but doubt crept in. You threatened her. Did I? He pulled out his phone, showing me an old email. From my mother to him, dated the day before Dad died. Read it. My hands shook as I took the phone. Meet me at the usual place. Frank suspects nothing. Everything's arranged.
No.
My mother's voice was stronger now. Show her the rest. Clyde's face darkened.
Marjorie?
The rest of the email thread, she insisted. The part where you threatened to hurt Laurel if I didn't help you. The part where you admitted to tampering with Frank's car. A commotion erupted in the hallway. Ruby's voice raised an argument with hospital security. It doesn't matter now. Clyde moved closer to the bed. None of you will testify. Not if you want to keep your medical license, Laurel. Did you think I wouldn't find out about those prescriptions you wrote for your grandmother? The ones that helped ease her passing? My breath caught. Gran's last days. The pain medication. Leave her alone. My mother struggled to sit up. I've already sent copies of everything to the police. Everything, Clyde. Including what you did to your first wife. The monitor's beeping accelerated as Clyde reached for my mother. I moved without thinking, years of suppressed rage finally finding their target. The diary flew from my hands as I shoved him back, papers scattering across the floor. Among them, fluttering like leaves, were photographs. Not from the music box or Dad's evidence, but from Gran's diary. Photos of a young woman, bruised and frightened. Clyde's first wife. Gran knew, I whispered. She knew all along. She tried to warn Frank. My mother's voice cracked. That's why I had to choose. You or him. I chose you. Clyde lunged for the photos, but the door burst open. Ruby stood there with Detective Morris and 2 officers. Actually, Ruby said, holding up her phone, you chose all of us. She'd been recording everything. As they led Clyde away, I picked up Gran's diary. The final entry was short. Sometimes the greatest act of love is letting go of revenge. Forgiveness isn't weakness, my dear Laurel. It's the strength to build something new from the ashes of what was lost. My mother's hand found mine, warm despite everything. I never stopped loving you, she whispered, even when I had to let you hate me. Outside, the sun was rising, painting the hospital room in shades of gold and shadow. Sometimes the light shows us things we couldn't see in the dark, like the difference between justice and revenge, or the fine line between love and sacrifice. I squeezed my mother's hand, 20 years of anger finally giving way to something else, something that felt almost like hope. 6 months after Clyde's conviction, I stood in Gran's study, my study now, sorting through the last of her belongings. Ruby sat cross-legged on the floor, piecing together the restored music box while our mother watched from the doorway, still moving carefully after her hospital stay. Found it, Ruby announced, fitting the final piece into place. The false bottom slid open with a click, revealing not documents, but a single photograph. My father holding me as a baby, my mother beside him, all of us laughing at something just out of frame. I remember that day, my mother said softly. Frank had just told one of his terrible jokes. I traced the edge of the photo, wondering how different things might have been if we'd stayed frozen in that moment of joy. Why did Gran keep this hidden instead of the evidence? Because evidence proves guilt, Ruby said, wisdom beyond her years in her voice. But this proves there was something worth saving. The doorbell rang. Aunt Opal stood on the porch, clutching a familiar leather-bound book. Found this while packing up my place, she said, holding out another of Gran's diaries. It's from before, everything, when your parents first met. I took the diary but didn't open it. Some stories didn't need to be excavated. Some truths could rest in peace. I'm selling the house, I announced suddenly. 3 pairs of eyes turned to me in surprise. But it's your home, my mother protested. Everything you fought to protect was never about the house. I moved to the window, watching shadows stretch across Gran's garden. It was about understanding why. Why you left, why Dad died, why Gran kept so many secrets. But understanding doesn't mean we have to live in the shadow of those choices forever. Ruby stood, brushing dust from her jeans. Where will you go? There's a practice opening up near the coast. They need an oncologist. I turned back to my family, this patchwork of broken pieces we were slowly fitting back together. It's only an hour away. Close enough for Sunday dinners, far enough to start fresh. My mother's hands trembled as she picked up the music box. When she wound it, Moonlight Sonata filled the room, each note carrying echoes of the past. Your grandmother wrote something else, Opal said quietly. In that last diary, about revenge and forgiveness being 2 sides of the same coin, both ways of holding on to pain. And what's the alternative? I asked. Ruby answered, letting go. Later that night, after everyone had left, I sat in Gran's chair one last time. The study felt different now, lighter somehow. On my laptop, an email from Detective Morris waited. They'd found more of Clyde's victims, other families he'd tried to destroy. My testimony wouldn't be needed at the new trials. I closed the laptop without responding. Let someone else carry the torch of justice. My war was over. The music box sat on the desk, moonlight gleaming off its restored surface. Inside, beneath the false bottom, I'd placed a new photograph, one taken last week at Ruby's graduation. My mother and I flanking her, all of us smiling despite the years of pain between us. Or maybe because of them. Gran's final diary entry had been right. The strongest families aren't the ones that never break, but the ones that learn to rebuild from the pieces. I packed the music box carefully in my bag. Tomorrow, I'd start looking for coastal properties. Something with big windows and a garden, where shadows couldn't linger. Maybe with room for guests. As I locked up the house one last time, I thought I caught a whiff of Gran's perfume, heard the echo of her laugh. But when I turned, there was only moonlight and the soft whisper of leaves in the garden she'd loved so much. Some ghosts, I was learning, don't need to be exorcised. Some can stay, teaching us how to love better, forgive deeper, live fuller. And sometimes, the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's building something beautiful from the ashes of what was lost. I drove away from my grandmother's house for the last time, the music box safe beside me, carrying its cargo of broken melodies and new beginnings.
I stared at the pristine white tablecloth, counting the delicate blue flowers embroidered along its edge. Anything to avoid looking at my mother-in-law's face as she calmly suggested I kill my unborn daughter. The Bennett name requires a male heir, Alice. Surely you understand that. Judith's voice carried the same tone she used when discussing wine selections or flower arrangements. Modern medicine gives us options. It would be quick, discreet. The roast beef on my plate had turned to ash in my mouth. Mark's hand found mine under the table, but his grip felt weak, uncertain. I pulled away. "You can't be serious," I managed to say, though my throat had gone desert dry. "I've never been more serious." Judith dabbed her lips with her napkin, leaving a perfect coral smudge. "This family has maintained its traditions for 6 generations. We didn't survive 2 world wars and the Great Depression by being sentimental." I looked at Mark then, searching his face for any sign of the man I'd married 2 years ago. The one who'd spun me around our kitchen when we saw the positive pregnancy test, who'd whispered names into my ear late at night. His eyes wouldn't meet mine. "Mark?" My voice cracked on that single syllable. "Mother has a point about tradition," he mumbled, pushing his peas around his plate. "Maybe we should discuss this privately." The chandelier light caught the crystal wine glasses, throwing prisms across the walls. I watched them dance, remembering how I'd once thought this dining room beautiful rather than suffocating. How I'd believed joining the Bennett family meant security, stability, love. "There's nothing to discuss." I stood up, my chair scraping against the hardwood floor. "This conversation is over." "Sit down, Alice." Judith's voice had lost its polite veneer. "You married into this family knowing our values, our expectations. Don't act surprised now." "Values?" I laughed, and it sounded foreign to my ears. "You're talking about murdering my baby because she's not the right gender. That's not values. That's insanity." "Lower your voice," Mark hissed, glancing nervously at the kitchen door where Maria, their housekeeper, might hear. "Why? Afraid someone might realize what kind of family I've married into?" My hands were shaking as I grabbed my purse. "A family that would rather kill an innocent child than break with tradition?" Judith's face hardened. "You're being dramatic. This isn't about murder, it's about legacy, about duty, something you clearly don't understand." "You're right, I don't understand." I backed away from the table, suddenly desperate for air. "And I don't want to." As I turned to leave, Judith's words followed me like poison. "Think carefully about your next move, Alice. The Bennetts protect their own, but we also know how to deal with threats." I stopped at the doorway, my hand on the frame. "Is that a threat, Judith?" "A reminder. You signed a prenuptial agreement. Walk away now, and you leave with nothing." The laugh that burst from me then was ugly, raw. "Nothing? I already have nothing. Just a husband who won't defend his wife and child, and in-laws who think murder is a reasonable dinner conversation." I made it to my car before the tears came, before the magnitude of what had just happened hit me full force. My phone buzzed. Mark calling, probably to smooth things over, to explain away his mother's words as stress or concern or some other pretty lie. I ignored it, starting the engine instead. As I pulled away from the mansion I'd once dreamed of calling home, one thought crystallized in my mind. They wanted to take everything from me, starting with my daughter. Well, 2 could play that game. By the time I was done, the Bennett family would learn exactly what it meant to lose everything they held dear. 3 missed calls and 12 text messages lit up my phone as I paced our bedroom. Mark's footsteps on the stairs made my skin crawl. I'd been home for an hour, just long enough to pack an overnight bag and grab my important documents. "You're being irrational!" Mark burst through the door, his tie loosened, hair disheveled. Mother didn't mean it the way it sounded. I zipped the bag shut with enough force to break the zipper. "Really? How else should I interpret 'kill your baby'? She's from a different generation. The family name means everything to her." He reached for my arm, but I stepped back. "We can work this out, just sleep on it." "Sleep on it?" The laugh that escaped me was bitter enough to burn. Like you slept on telling me about your family's obsession with male heirs? Was that something you planned to mention before or after we got married? His silence was answer enough. I shouldered my bag, but he blocked the doorway. Move. Alice, please. You're carrying my child too. Don't I get a say? A say? My voice rose sharply. You had your say at dinner. You chose your side when you sat there letting your mother plan our daughter's death. That's not fair. You know how mother gets. Sometimes it's easier to… To what? Let her win? Sacrifice our child to keep the peace? I stepped closer, searching his face. Tell me, Mark. What else would you sacrifice to keep Mommy happy? He flinched. You don't understand the pressure. You're right. I don't understand pressure. I just understand that my husband is too weak to protect his own child. The words hit their mark. His face flushed red, then drained of color. Where are you going? Away from here. Away from you. Away from this sick family and its traditions. His hand shot out, gripping my wrist. You can't leave. Think about what you're throwing away. The lifestyle, the connections, the threats, the manipulation, the casual suggestion of infanticide over dinner. I twisted free. Let me pass. Or what? Something ugly flashed in his eyes. You signed a prenup, remember? Leave now and you get nothing. No alimony, no property, no… Is that what you think I care about? Money? I shoved past him, but his next words stopped me cold. Mother's right. You never did understand our world. Maybe this is for the best. Clearly, you're not Bennett material. I turned slowly. No, I'm not. And thank God for that. My phone buzzed again, Judith's name flashing on the screen. I declined the call, then opened my messages. The latest one made my blood freeze. Consider carefully, dear. The Bennett family has friends in every hospital within 50 miles. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I took a screenshot, then another of the previous threats she'd sent. My marketing background hadn't been completely wasted as a trophy wife. I knew the value of documentation. Your mother's threatening me now. I held up the phone. Want to defend that too? Mark's face went blank. That practiced, polished mask I'd seen him wear at business meetings. She's trying to protect our family's interests. Our family? I pressed my free hand against my stomach. This is our family, Mark, right here. But you're too busy being Mommy's good little boy to see it. I made it halfway down the stairs before he called out, If you leave now, don't bother coming back. I paused, not turning around. Is that a threat or a promise? His silence spoke volumes. I reached the front door, then stopped. You know what the funny thing is? I actually thought you loved me. But you can't love anyone, can you? Not really. You're too busy trying to earn Mommy's approval. The door slammed behind me with satisfying force. In my car, I pulled out my phone again, scrolling through my contacts until I found the one person I could trust. The one person who'd never let me down. Henry, it's Alice. I need your help. My voice steadied as I spoke. And I need everything you know about investigative journalism. It's time the world learned what kind of people the Bennetts really are. Henry's apartment smelled like coffee and old books. A familiar comfort I hadn't realized I'd missed. Files and newspaper clippings covered his dining table. 2 years' worth of Bennett family history spread out like a roadmap of corruption. Look at this! He pointed to a yellowed article. 3 years ago, Mark's cousin Sarah suddenly moved abroad after getting pregnant. No one's heard from her since. My hands trembled as I picked up the clipping. She was carrying a girl too, wasn't she? According to hospital records, Henry's voice hardened, which mysteriously disappeared a week later. I pushed away from the table, bile rising in my throat. The morning sickness wasn't helping, but this was different. This was horror. Pure and simple. My phone buzzed, Tom Bennett's name flashing on the screen. I almost declined, but something made me answer. Alice, don't hang up. His voice was urgent, stripped of its usual casual drawl. Mother's calling an emergency family meeting. About you. Let me guess. They're planning my tragic accident? This isn't a joke. Papers rustled in the background. I'm in Father's study. There's something you need to see. Files about other women in the family. It's worse than we thought. Henry watched me intently as I gripped the phone tighter. What kind of files? Medical records, legal documents, payoffs. Tom's voice dropped to a whisper. Alice, Sarah wasn't the first. There were others. So many others. A sharp knock echoed through the phone, followed by Judith's muffled voice. Thomas? Are you in there? I have to go. Tom's words tumbled out. Meet me at the Blue Door. Tonight, 8 o'clock. Come alone. The line went dead. Henry touched my shoulder. You're not actually considering going? Of course I am. It's obviously a trap. He gestured at the evidence spread before us. They're desperate. They know you're a threat. Or Tom's finally grown a conscience. I grabbed my coat. Either way, I need to know. Then I'm coming with you. No. I touched his arm. If it is a trap, I need you safe. You're the only one who knows the truth, who can expose them if... My hand drifted to my stomach. If they make you disappear like Sarah? His jaw clenched. All the more reason not to go. I have to know, Henry. For her. I pressed my other hand against my belly. For all of them. The Blue Door was a dive bar on the edge of town. The kind of place the Bennetts would never be caught dead in. Perfect for secrets. Perfect for traps. Tom sat in a corner booth, hands wrapped around an untouched whiskey. When he saw me, his face crumpled. I'm so sorry, he whispered. I didn't know. All these years I never knew. He slid a USB drive across the table. Everything's here. Bank transfers, medical records, correspondence. Mother's been systematic about it. Any time a first pregnancy wasn't male, there were complications. My fingers closed around the drive. Why are you helping me? Because I remember Sarah. Because I have a girlfriend Mother doesn't know about, and she's pregnant. His hands shook. Because someone needs to stop them. The door chimed. Mark walked in, followed by two men I didn't recognize. Tom's face went ash white. I'm sorry, he breathed. They followed me. I didn't know... I was already moving, but Mark's voice froze me in place. Sit down, Alice. He sounded tired, resigned. Mother was right. You've become a problem that needs solving. The men flanked the exits. Tom wouldn't meet my eyes. I clutched the USB drive, mind racing. There was a back door through the kitchen. I'd spotted it coming in. If I could just... Don't make this harder than it needs to be. Mark stepped closer. Think of it as a kindness. You clearly can't handle the responsibilities of being a Bennett. I laughed then, sharp and bitter. No, Mark. I just can't handle being a murderer. The next few seconds would determine everything. My fate, my daughter's fate, the fate of every future woman unfortunate enough to marry into this family of monsters. I took a deep breath, remembering Henry's words. Sometimes the best revenge is survival. Time to survive. The kitchen's back door slammed behind me as I burst into the alley, my heels skidding on wet pavement. Mark's shouts echoed from inside, followed by the crash of overturned chairs. The USB drive burned in my pocket like a live coal. A black SUV idled at the alley's entrance. Behind me, the door banged open again. I ran the opposite direction, ducking between dumpsters, my pregnant body protesting every jarring step. Another SUV appeared at the far end, headlights blazing. My phone buzzed. Henry's message flashed. Got your location, 2 minutes away. Hold on. A hand grabbed my arm. I spun, ready to fight, but it was Tom. Fire escape, he hissed, pointing up. 3rd floor's empty. I'll stall them. I didn't waste time questioning his loyalty. The metal rattled under my feet as I climbed, Mark's voice carrying from below. Find her! Mother wants this handled tonight! Through a grimy window, I made out an abandoned office space. The lock was old, weak. One sharp blow with my elbow and I was inside, glass tinkling behind me. My phone lit up again. Henry calling. I answered in a whisper. Where are you? Northeast corner, blue Honda. They've got the building surrounded, Alice. What's on that drive that's worth killing for? Everything. I peered down at the alley. 4 men now, plus Mark, spreading out like hunters. Their whole sick history. Tom said, Tom, Henry's voice sharpened. Alice, he's working with them. I just saw him get into Judith's car. The betrayal shouldn't have hurt. I barely knew Tom, but it did. Another Bennett choosing family over conscience. Footsteps on the fire escape. I moved deeper into the shadows, past empty desks and forgotten filing cabinets. A door at the far end probably led to a hallway, maybe stairs. If I could just... It's over, Alice. Mark stood in the broken window, silhouetted against streetlights. He looked different, dangerous in a way I'd never seen before. Was any of it real? My voice stayed steady despite my racing heart. Us? Our marriage? Or was I just a breeding mare for the Bennett bloodline? I loved you. He stepped inside. Still do, but family is everything. You'll understand that soon, when you're a mother. If you let me live that long. That's up to you. Another step closer. Give me the drive, come home. We'll say you were emotional, confused. Mother will forgive you, eventually. Like she forgave Sarah? He flinched. Sarah made her choice. Did she? Or did your mother's friends make it for her? Sirens wailed in the distance. Mark's face hardened. Last chance, Alice. The drive or what? I backed toward the door. You'll add me to the Bennett family's list of tragic accidents? How many are there, Mark? How many women did your mother murder for having the wrong kind of baby? Shut up! He lunged forward. I threw the nearest object, a dusty desk lamp, and ran. The hallway stretched endless and dark, my footsteps echoing. Behind me, Mark's pursuit was silent, methodical. He knew he had me trapped. My phone vibrated. Henry again. Police are 2 minutes out. Keep moving. The stairwell door appeared ahead. I grabbed the handle. Locked. It's done, Alice. Mark's voice came from the darkness. No more running. I turned, pressing my back against the door. You're right. No more running. His outline emerged from the shadows, one hand extended. The drive. Now. You want it? I pulled it from my pocket. Come get it. He approached slowly, cautiously, like I was a cornered animal. In a way I was. But cornered animals are the most dangerous. I trusted you, I whispered. I loved you. I know. His fingers closed around the drive. I'm sorry it has to end this way. So am I. The taser from my other pocket connected with his ribs before he could react. Henry had insisted I take it. Just in case. As Mark convulsed and collapsed, I heard doors bursting open below, voices shouting, footsteps thundering upstairs. I looked down at my husband's unconscious form and felt nothing but cold determination. The real drive was safe with Henry. This one contained something else. Something that would ensure the Bennett family's destruction, one way or another. The truth has a way of surviving, even in the dark. The police interview room felt smaller with each passing hour. Detective Rivera set another coffee in front of me, her face carefully neutral. Mrs. Bennett, we found 3 bodies in the Bennett family crypt. All female, all pregnant when they died. She slid photographs across the table. Your husband's been released on bail. His mother's lawyers are already spinning this as ancient family history. My fingers traced the edge of one photo, a gold bracelet on a skeletal wrist. Sarah wore one just like this. We know. Rivera leaned forward. But without more evidence linking current family members to these deaths, this stays a cold case. The door opened. Henry burst in, ignoring the detective's protest. They're moving against you, now. What? Mark just filed for emergency custody of your unborn child, claiming you're mentally unstable. They've got 3 psychiatrists ready to testify. He dropped a legal document on the table. Judith's judge friends are expediting it. You've got 24 hours. The room tilted. I pressed my hand against my stomach, feeling my daughter kick. They can't. They can. Rivera's voice hardened. And they will unless I give them something bigger. I met Henry's eyes. The drive? Ready to go? But Alice, this isn't just about exposing old crimes anymore. The moment this goes public, they'll destroy you. They're already trying to destroy me. I stood, steadier than I felt. Time to return the favor. My phone buzzed. Tom's number. After his betrayal at the bar, I almost ignored it. But something made me answer. Don't trust the police. His voice was barely a whisper. Mother's got people everywhere. But I found something. Father's real will. The one mother suppressed. It changes everything. Why should I believe you? Because I just found out my girlfriend lost our baby. Mother's friends at the hospital. His voice broke. Meet me at St. Michael's. 1 hour. I looked at Henry, who shook his head. It's another trap. Maybe, I gathered my coat. Or maybe it's exactly what we need. St. Michael's loomed against the darkening sky, its Gothic spires perfect for a family of monsters. Tom waited by the side entrance, looking haunted. Inside, he held the door. The will's hidden in father's old office. It proves mother killed him when he threatened to expose her. We climbed dusty stairs to the church offices. Tom's hands shook as he unlocked a door. It's in here somewhere. I saw mother hide. The door slammed behind us. Judith stepped from the shadows, Mark beside her. Oh, Thomas, she sighed. Still so easily manipulated. Just like your father. Tom's face crumpled. I'm sorry, Alice. They have Rachel. My girlfriend. They said, enough. Judith's voice could have frozen hell. Alice, dear, you've become quite troublesome. But we're willing to be merciful. Sign these papers. She produced a document. Full custody to Mark, a generous settlement and a non-disclosure agreement. Walk away, live a comfortable life. And my daughter? Will be raised properly, as a Bennett should be. You mean if she survives birth? The words tasted like acid. How many girls have you murdered, Judith? How many families have you destroyed? I've preserved this family's legacy. Her eyes glittered. Something you never understood. You're right. I backed toward the window, phone recording in my pocket. I never understood how anyone could kill innocent children for power. But now I do. You're not preserving anything. You're just a murderer hiding behind tradition. Mark stepped forward. Alice, please, don't make this harder. Then what? Killing me? Like you killed Sarah? Like you killed all the others? We did what was necessary. Judith's mask cracked, revealing the monster beneath. And we'll do what's necessary now. Perfect. Her confession, recorded. I pressed send on the phone, delivering everything to Henry and Detective Rivera. Now I just had to survive the next few minutes. You know what's funny? I smiled, feeling strangely calm. You were so focused on preserving the Bennett name, you never noticed what I was really doing. Judith's eyes narrowed. What? Destroying it, completely. And you just helped me finish the job. Sirens wailed in the distance. Judith's face contorted with rage as she realized what I'd done. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just surviving. It's making sure your enemies destroy themselves. The Bennett family's annual charity gala buzzed with wealth and whispers. From my corner of the ballroom, I watched Judith work the crowd, her perfectly coiffed hair catching the chandelier light. Mark stood beside her, playing the dutiful son, while photographers captured their generous donations to children's hospitals. The irony made me sick. You shouldn't be here. Henry appeared at my elbow, tension radiating from him. The restraining order doesn't start until midnight. I adjusted my dress over my 7-month belly. Plenty of time to deliver their surprise. Alice, his hand touched my arm. They've already frozen your accounts, hired lawyers to paint you as unstable. If you do this, they'll what? Destroy me? Kill me? I watched Judith laugh at someone's joke. They're already trying. At least this way, I take them down with me. The USB drive felt heavy in my clutch. 1 copy to the press, 1 to the police, 1 to every major shareholder in the Bennett empire. All set to send at exactly 9 p.m. when Judith would take the stage for her annual speech about family values. Tom approached, Rachel clinging to his arm like a shield. Mother's looking for you. Good. I stepped forward, but Henry caught my wrist. Wait. His voice dropped. Something's wrong. Security's moving. I scanned the room. He was right. Men in dark suits were positioning themselves near the exits. Did you really think we wouldn't be watching? Mark's voice came from behind me. Checking every guest list? Monitoring every invitation? I turned. His face held something almost like regret. The drives are already uploaded, I said. Set to auto-send. No, they're not! He pulled out his phone, showing an email from my account. Amazing what a court order can do. Your devices, your cloud storage, all accessed and cleared. Mother's very thorough. The room spun slightly. That's impossible. Is it? Judith glided over, her smile razor sharp. Did you think you were the first to try exposing us? That others haven't attempted exactly what you planned? The evidence has been contained? She gestured subtly. Security moved closer. Just like you will be. The private psychiatric facility is quite comfortable, I'm told. Perfect for a troubled mother-to-be. My hand pressed against my stomach. The baby kicked as if sensing my fear. You can't just make me disappear. Of course we can. Judith's voice dripped false concern. A tragic case of postpartum psychosis. These things happen, especially to women under stress. Mark will have full custody naturally. For the child's safety. Henry stepped forward. I won't let... Mr. Mitchell. Judith cut him off. Your newspaper has been informed of your inappropriate relationship with a married, mentally unstable woman. I suggest you leave while you still have a career. The trap had sprung perfectly. Every angle covered, every escape route blocked. I thought I was so clever, but they'd been 10 steps ahead. Why not just kill me? My voice sounded distant to my own ears. Like the others? Because this is better. Mark touched my cheek, an obscene parody of tenderness. You'll live, knowing our daughter is being raised properly, as a Bennett should be. Knowing you failed to protect her. The room blurred. My knees weakened, but I refused to fall. Not here. Not in front of them. Security will escort you out quietly, Judith said. Unless you prefer a scene? Though that would only reinforce the unfortunate narrative about your mental state. I looked around the glittering ballroom, at the wealthy guests who'd turn away, pretending not to see. At Tom, who couldn't meet my eyes. At Henry, desperate but powerless. Everything I'd planned, every piece of evidence I'd gathered, every ally I'd thought I had, all stripped away in minutes. They'd won. They'd always been winning, and I'd just been playing their game by their rules. But as security approached, something crystallized in my mind. A terrible, desperate clarity. They'd taken everything from me. My marriage, my future, my freedom, and soon, my child. I had nothing left to lose. And people with nothing left to lose make the most dangerous enemies of all. I smiled at Judith, watching uncertainty flicker across her perfect face. The game wasn't over. It was just changing rules. The security guards never saw the flash drive I'd slipped to Rachel during our staged confrontation. While they escorted me toward the exit, she disappeared into the crowd, carrying the real evidence, not the decoy Judith had found. I counted steps. 3, 2, 1. The ballroom's lights cut out. In the sudden darkness, screams erupted, followed by the massive screens behind the stage flickering to life. Sarah's face appeared, young and beautiful, in her last known photograph. What is this? Judith's voice cut through the chaos. Get those screens off! But more faces appeared. Janet Bennett, 1982. Elizabeth Bennett, 1995. Each with their death dates, their medical records, their accidents detailed in clinical precision. Security! Mark's shout echoed. Get her out! I wouldn't. Tom's voice rang clear. He stood by the main doors, Rachel beside him, her phone live-streaming everything. The footage is already going viral. Every news outlet in the country just received copies. The lights flickered back on. Judith stood frozen, her perfect mask cracking as she watched her carefully constructed world implode. You. She turned to me, fury distorting her features. You orchestrated this. No, Judith. I stepped forward, shrugging off the guards. You did. Every murder, every cover-up, every threat. I just exposed it. The crowd pressed back, creating a circle around us. Phones recorded everything. The Bennett family's darkest secrets laid bare for all to see. These are lies. Mark pushed through the crowd. Fabrications from a disturbed... Tell that to Sarah's parents. Tom's voice cracked. Tell that to Rachel, whose miscarriage was no accident. Tell that to every woman whose life you destroyed. Thomas... Judith's voice turned silk smooth. Think about what you're doing to this family. Family? He laughed bitterly. You killed my daughter too, Mother. Did you think I wouldn't figure it out? Rachel's complications happened right after I told you she was pregnant. The crowd gasped. Mark's face went ash white. Mother? His whisper carried in the silent room. Is it true? Everything I did was to protect this family. Judith's chin lifted. To preserve our legacy. You're all too weak to understand. Weak. I stepped closer. You murdered innocent women and children because you couldn't bear the thought of losing control. That's not strength, Judith. That's cowardice. She moved faster than I expected. The gun appeared in her hand, aimed at my stomach. I won't let you destroy everything I've built. The crowd scattered. Security reached for weapons, but froze at her wild-eyed stare. Mother, don't! Mark's voice shook. Please! Still trying to play both sides, Mark? I kept my eyes on Judith. Still can't choose between your wife and your mother? Shut up! Judith's hand trembled. You never understood. The Bennett name means something. We protect our own... By killing them? Tom moved closer. By murdering our children? They were weak, imperfect. I made the hard choices to keep this family strong. No. Mark's voice changed, hardened. You made the choices that kept you in power. He stepped between me and the gun. What are you doing? Judith whispered. Choosing. He didn't look back at me. Finally choosing. You would betray your own mother? For her? No. His voice stayed steady. For my daughter. For every child you murdered in the name of family. The gun wavered. In that moment of hesitation, security rushed forward. The weapon clattered to the floor as Judith screamed, not in fear or anger, but in the primal rage of someone watching their kingdom crumble. Detective Rivera emerged from the crowd, badge displayed. Judith Bennett, you're under arrest! As they led her away, her perfectly coiffed hair now disheveled, her makeup streaked with tears, she looked smaller, ordinary. Just another monster finally exposed to the light. Mark turned to me, his face haunted. Alice, don't. I stepped back. You don't get forgiveness. Not yet. Maybe not ever. He nodded, understanding at last. The Bennett legacy was ending. Not with a bang, but with the quiet click of handcuffs and the whir of cameras, documenting every moment of their fall. Sometimes the best revenge isn't just surviving, it's making sure the truth survives with you. The courthouse steps felt colder than they should in September. I watched Judith being led away in handcuffs, her designer suit replaced by prison orange, her perfect posture finally broken. The jury had taken less than 2 hours to reach their verdict. Guilty. On all counts. Mrs. Bennett? A young woman approached, clutching a photo. I'm Sarah's sister. My throat tightened. I have her bracelet. The police released it after. Keep it, she touched my arm. For your daughter, so she'll know what you fought for. As she walked away, I felt my baby kick. 7 months along now, and every movement reminded me why I'd torn down an empire. Mark waited by his car, watching me. He'd testified against his mother, helping secure the conviction, but some betrayals can't be undone. Some choices mark us forever. Alice, he stepped forward. I know I don't deserve forgiveness. You're right. You don't. I met his eyes. But she deserves a father who's trying to be better. Understanding flickered across his face. You mean supervised visits after she's born, if you continue therapy and prove you've changed? He nodded, relief and regret warring in his expression. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. I turned away. You have a lifetime of choices ahead to prove you're not your mother's son. Tom and Rachel waited nearby, hands clasped. Their loss had sparked their testimony, helping bring down the family that had stolen their child. They'd moved to Seattle last week, starting fresh. Ready? Henry appeared beside me, carrying my briefcase. He'd never left, never wavered, even when the Bennett lawyers tried destroying his career. Almost. I walked to the courthouse garden, where a small memorial now stood. Names etched in stone. All the women and children the Bennett family had sacrificed for their legacy. Sarah, Janet, Elizabeth, Tom and Rachel's unnamed daughter. I placed my hand on the cool marble, feeling the engraved letters beneath my fingers. You won. Henry's voice was soft. They can't hurt anyone else. No, I straightened up. But that's not why I did it. Why then? I touched my stomach, feeling my daughter's response. Because someone had to show them that legacy isn't about names or traditions or power. It's about the choices we make, the people we protect. He stepped closer, his hand hovering near mine. And what choices will you make now? The question hung between us, heavy with unspoken possibilities. I'd seen the way he looked at me, the love he'd kept hidden all these years. Patient, unwavering, asking nothing in return. I don't know yet. I met his gaze. But I know I want to make them freely. No more chains, no more traditions controlling my future. Sounds lonely. No. I took his hand, feeling its warmth. Not lonely, just undefined, unwritten. The setting sun painted the courthouse gold. Like nature herself was turning the page. The Bennett legacy was ended, their empire dismantled, their secrets exposed. I realized revenge hadn't been the answer I thought it was. The answer was in breaking free, in choosing your own path, your own family, your own definition of legacy. Come on, I squeezed his hand. Let's go home. Your place or mine? His smile held no pressure, no expectations. Neither? I looked toward the horizon. Let's find somewhere new, somewhere we can write our own story. My daughter kicked again, stronger this time. She'd never know the weight of the Bennett name, the poison of their traditions. She'd be free to choose her own path, make her own mistakes, create her own legacy. And maybe that was the greatest revenge of all, not in destroying the old, but in building something new, something better, something free.